everyone, I'm Laura. Welcome to Bookends of Recovery, the podcast where recovery, healing, hope, and of course, most importantly, you take the spotlight. Today, we are continuing the podcast from yesterday on the trigger series focusing on relapse prevention. We are doing the exercise portion. So, for those of you that stuck around, you might want to go get a drink of water, take a deep breath, and this is why you grabbed a pen and paper. So, let's get started. And remember, as we go through these, relapse is not a failure, it's a learning experience. So, these questions will help you identify warning signs, manage setbacks, and build a strong support system. So, I want you to remember, as you're reflecting this, be honest with yourself, okay? We're going to use this as a personal guide to strengthen your awareness, develop a proactive relapse prevention plan. You can use that to build on the setback prevention plan that I mentioned in the previous podcast. And so don't forget to download that. And get settled in and get comfy. And just, pause when you need to. And also don't forget, if you want to see this in writing, it's in a video presentation on my website. All right, let's get started. I want you to think about a time when you felt vulnerable to relapse. What warning signs did you notice? Think about what type they were. What were the specific mental warning signs? What were the specific emotional warning signs? What were the specific behavioral warning signs? Now I'm going to ask you to do some reflection questions. What patterns did you notice? Are there any early warning signs that tend to appear before you have an urge? Next, we're going to work on strengthening your mindset, and then we're going to work on reframing negative thoughts. So I want you to write down the common negative thoughts that contribute to your relapses or your urges. So the goal is to practice reframing them into more empowering, recovery-focused statements. So, for example, the negative thought would be, I'll never be okay. So the reframed positive thought would be, recovery is a journey and every day I make progress. The negative would be, instead of saying, what good is it? Ask, what is the good? So take a moment and think of a negative thought and write down that, and then come up with a reframed positive thought. And now that you've done that, reflect on How can you remind yourself of these new perspectives in challenging moments? Next, we're going to work on your emotional check in. Remember, we talked about that on the podcast. And that is the first thing we're going to do is talk about HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. When that urge hits, check in with yourself. Ask yourself, am I hungry? So write down examples of what can I eat to nourish my body. These things need to be healthy. Then you'll ask yourself, am I angry? And I want you to think of ways of how can I express this in a healthy way. So write down, how can I express this in a way, or in a healthy way? Next is lonely. Ask yourself, am I lonely? And then write down who you can reach out to for a connection. And of course, last is tired. Ask yourself, am I tired? And then what can I do to rest and recharge? So write down things that you can do to rest and recharge. And now your moment of reflection. How can you proactively meet these needs before they lead to a relapse or trigger? And let's expand on that for just a minute, because we talked about this in the podcast, but remember, we need to notice, who you're with, where you are, what your needs are, right? So also make note of, do you need to leave? Is this person healthy for you? Do you need a moment to regroup and practice some recovery tools like grounding exercises, breathing, walking, urge surfing? Take note of those things. Okay, the next section I want you to think about is handling a setback without spiraling. And this would be where you're going to have a setback response plan. So if you experience a slip or a setback, use this plan, and this will be a way for you to kind of get back on track quickly. So you're going to do the 4 R's. Ready? First, you're going to recognize. You're going to recognize what happened. So describe what happened. Describe the situation briefly. The next R, reach out. Give examples of who you can talk to for support. Who is going to pick up the phone or answer your text? Next is your reframe. What can you learn from this setback or this urge? This is not the time to wallow in shame. Now is the time to fall forward. And the last R, refocus. What is the next step to get you back on track? So what's one thing you can do to keep moving forward? And then as your reflection, think about what strategies have helped you bounce back in the past. Okay, your next exercise is building a strong sobriety circle. So, who's in your support system? We want to take stock of the people in that circle. You know, who supports you and what do they do to support you? What ways? And you can create two columns. You can do like a person's name and how they support your recovery. And just list each person's name and how they support your recovery. And then the reflection for this one is there anyone you need to add to your support system? And also, how can you strengthen your relationships with the people that are already in it or that you need to add? And then for the final thoughts in the action plan, um, based on what I just did, these exercises, I want you to write down 3 concrete steps that you will take to prevent a relapse and stay on track in your recovery. And remember, I know it's like beating a dead horse, right? What a terrible saying now that I say that out loud. Recovery isn't about perfection. It's all about progress. So you just keep showing up for yourself each and every day. Again, if you have found this helpful, check out all the worksheets that I have. They are free. I create them for you. I do them because I just love to, mess around on Canva. If you have any questions about relapse prevention, or if this was just too fast for you, let me know. If you don't like me doing these, verbally, that's fine. I'm not going to get offended because I know sometimes that just doesn't work. Message me, if you have any questions. I'm on Facebook at Bookends Addiction of Recovery, or, share your thoughts on my latest blog at bookendsofrecovery.com. Remember, you don't have to do this alone. Reach out, build your support system, and keep moving forward. You are a superstar. Don't let anybody take that away from you. You've got this. This is Laura. I'm sending you positive vibes. You deserve them. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that this was helpful to you.